Today is March 30th, 2019. I'm going to try and make a quick early spring video. And I said that because our breakup has already really gotten going here. Right now in the center of the screen was where our sign would have been if it hadn't gotten blown out this year. But anyway, we're going to head down here and see kind of how we do things in the early spring, getting ready for the growing season. Right in front of me I've got Chica. Hi Chica. And then we've got trash cans that I fill with snow for meltwater. We don't have a well, and we do get quite a bit of runoff off the house roof and the dump truck I'll show you. But other than that, we need about 2,000 gallons to start off the season before the rains hit into July. Here is our kind of our melt pond-ish thing. I put some black plastic out, melt snow in it, and that flows down the pipe there to the tank that's behind the house. It's a 600-gallon tank. We usually fill that all the way up. And then since the snow has really ripened quite well, so this morning it's been pretty cold and it froze over so I can walk on top. Chica loves this time of year. She loves to explore places that she hasn't been able to go for months because the snow is too deep and too soft. We're going to walk through our orchard here. I did see a little bit of damage in places. Nothing to these trees. These are all our Parklands and Norlands up here. I saw some rabbits in here. They've started coming into the farm. They didn't used to, but they do now. But I haven't seen anything to these. That's a sort of sad zestar there. It got not sure what happened to it, but it's recovering slowly. And then we have a patch of high-bush cranberry wild plants back in here that I'm going to try and salvage this year. Put some mulch down around, keep the grass out of them because they do make a great wine. Anyway, more trees down here. I note them. Well, the moose came through once this year, I think only once. It was surprising. She almost trampled one of our grapevines. But I think most of this damage here is from something. It looks like it's been bitten off. This is all trailman. It'll recover nicely because that one does. It's an apple tree. And then these are all screened here. Down to our pears, this is another one. There's a couple areas that obviously they didn't die back this year because nothing would eat them if they were dead. This one got mowed off a little bit here. This is one of our pear trees that tries to make it every year. It just doesn't handle the weather up here too well. See, more of the food forest down here, which we're going to take out the birch saplings and stuff like that this year. I think they've got to come out and try and get back on track. Hoping to spend more time on the farm and less time at my day job. I let them know that was my plan, and they're like, okay, we'll see how that works. Anyway, we've got some things that really surprised me. We have the typical aronia bushes, Viking and Nero, in other places, but not out here. And this one right here is actually just a seedling wild aronia, and this was just a teeny tiny stick about this big about 3 years ago. And while it's only about, well, it's got a foot of snow on the ground underneath it, so it's probably about 3.5 feet high right now. It just grows like a weed up here. Really likes it. Anyway, let's go down here to Duke's area. Tank behind the house. Another thing we're going to try and work on this year is getting some flowers in the ground, getting the peonies down on the lower part of the hill, which we'll go down to now. Checking out the vineyard down here. Kind of the same results as in the past. We have a few that kind of do fairly well in the grapes, but now this is another thing here. This path has already melted out. I did not shovel this path out. This is actually packed snow that has melted out. It's not even the 1st of April, and we've got big patches here where I've walked that are just melting out. There's Valiant. Yeah, it didn't. Maybe a little teeny tiny bit will come back this year, but that's kind of typical for that one. The one that did quite well this last year was Zilga. And that's down here. And that one was the one we thought the moose came through and trampled. She went right through here, and there's 4 or 5 rows of tracks right around this area, and I'm like, no, not Zilga. And turns out she didn't hit it at all. But this is really good. It's at least hardy to survive out to that bud there, and probably about that bud there. That's a little bit small to survive, but it did really well considering this is its first full summer in the ground. And they do take a couple of years to get the roots going. Here's Emmer 1. It'll bud out and continue to grow, but it's a little slow too. So those are the grapes. Here's C16, and it got zapped last year. We had 63 degrees, I think, in the October 4th, which is pretty much October 2nd, something like that, 2nd or 4th. Unheard of in October here, that warm of weather. And then the 8th or the 10th, somewhere around there, about 5 or 6 days later, it hit 12 degrees, and it just really zapped everything back because they had gotten used to some of the warm weather, the brief warm weather we had. So there's the slope there. Nothing showing through much except up on the terraces. You can see a little bit up there. That down there there's blackberries underneath the snow. And that's about it. But we're going to head down. So what I wanted to say was down here down towards the bottom, I've actually got I think I've turned an eyesore into something that I could actually use quite well. Down below the vineyard here, we've got another stretch that's quite a stretch down there, about 150 feet from the base of the vineyard where that tub is right there, down to the berm, which I hated. But what I'm thinking of now is, geez, the berm's wide. When my neighbor came through and bulldozed the roots out of the ground last year, he pushed even more dirt down there, and it's made it so wide. I might try and figure out how to make it level and put high tunnels on it, because that would be the only level spot on the dirt, or on this hillside. And since there's already dirt piled down there, why not just make that level and put the high tunnels there? Otherwise, I'd have to have some dozer come in and make a cut in the hillside, and then you bring all the rock to the surface, and then you've got nothing but rock. And you have to bring in dirt so you can grow something on top of the rock. It's crazy. So it's kind of slick. Still not much above freezing this morning yet. I'm supposed to be hitting the 50s again in a couple of days. But drove the pickup out this morning. Car's been out for about 2 weeks now. So up here we've got blackberries still mostly underneath, except you can see a patch kind of in here. That's the Stenielsons, which I think I'm going to need to pull out because they're either not pollinating, which I think is the issue. I think they're not pollinating. They form tremendously small, worthless berries, and they taste horrible. They're really small, even compared to Wild Treasure, which we tried to grow some. We got some cuttings from Corvallis, Oregon, Wild Treasure's sibling, and of course when they got here they were a brownish color, and I thought, oh, they don't look good. Well, yeah, they either frozen or were desiccated, and they had died before I even got them. And then we had another one we ordered, which actually had a tip root on it, but I was so busy I didn't get around to putting it in the, in a pot. It sat in the refrigerator for a while, and it ended up killing the tip root. So I'm down here now to the currants, and down the hill on the terraces, which I hopefully will get removed this year. We're going to actually fill this area up with more service berries. Pull the currants out, put them down lower on the slope. Turn them probably down around in there someplace. So I came out this last weekend and thought, oh, I'm going to prune the currants back and start propagating them. And so I dug out some of these. This is a red currant, another red lake. And so I'm walking along here, and here's 1301 white currant, fantastic yield, very hardy, very nice for up here. And they were so deep in the snow, which they're not necessarily anymore, that I thought, man, this is going to be a lot of work, so I'll just go ahead and wait till next weekend, which is this weekend. So I went down here. Actually, what I did was, beyond the whites, I thought, okay, so I can't get the whites, they're too far in there, but I need to check the blacks. And I went down and checked one black, which was a Menage Smeru. I don't know, it's kind of weird. Weird spelling. And I realized that all of the buds that are underneath the snow have already started to push. They aren't leafing out yet, but they're certainly swollen and colored. And so I'm like looking at the near-term forecast, and it's suggesting that we could drop down, you know, into the teens or single digits even at some point. And so I'm like, well, that's not good for those because they can't handle those cold temperatures if the buds are swollen. So I shoveled the snow back onto it, and I thought, well, we'll just wait till the weather gets better. But as typical, the black currants are always the first ones to pop out up here. And as we've seen, and you've probably seen on previous videos, Ben Sarek, that's the biggest problem with that one, other than the fact that it's day length sensitive even more than any of the others, other black currants. And so when it starts to leaf out, we get hit by a freeze because it leaves out in early April. And this year it's probably already leafed out or started to leaf out down low. And then we get a cold spell and it kills all the flower buds and damages the leaves. And so the leaves come out, they're real small, and then it has to sprout some more leaves. And so we never get anything off of it. But anyway, that's kind of the story behind the blacks. And so we just kind of do what we can with them. But the reason why I'm into two particular varieties here, Black Down and Menage Smeru, is because last year they ripened completely by early September, and none of the other varieties were anywhere near fully ripe. So they are very early up here and great for growth if I can keep them from getting zapped in the spring spring frost. So I'm looking real quickly here up at the clematis and other things that I've planted out. We'll see how they do this year. I'm expecting them to grow a lot more this year than they did last year. The one right there on that trellis is Polish Spirit, and it took off last year and grew all the way to the top, but the flowers barely came out the middle of September, so it wasn't much of a show, as opposed to Jack Manny, which flowered from, I don't know, the end of July through end of September and put on quite a show. Anyway, that's it for now. Looks like the clouds are clearing. I'm gonna get some sunshine today. Snow's gonna start melting, so I'm gonna have to get off of it or else I'm gonna sink in. And anyway, I thought I'd just show everybody what it's like during the spring before the snow melts. Thanks for watching.